100 years ago, a former railroad mechanic named Walter P. Chrysler put his name on an automobile and launched a legacy that would redefine American luxury, performance, and innovation. From the wind tunnel-tested airflow that was decades ahead of its time to the jet-powered dream of the turbine car, Chrysler's history is a scrapbook of audacious risks, brilliant engineering, and family-hauling icons. To mark the brand's centennial, the greatest hits were brought back for one unforgettable party. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a road test through time. We got behind the wheel of the legendary letter cars, rode in a machine powered by a 60,000 RPM jet engine, and took a nostalgic cruise in the very K-car that saved the company. Buckle up. This is a journey through a century of American automotive history and a glimpse at what might come next. A century of audacity, driving through 100 years of Chrysler's greatest hits. It's been a full century since Walter P. Chrysler, a man with grease on his hands and ambition in his heart, founded the car company that would bear his name. In an era of explosive automotive growth, Chrysler immediately carved out a niche for itself. Upscale, technologically advanced, and relentlessly innovative. This was the brand that brought safety features like non-splintering glass and padded dashboards to the forefront long before they were industry standards. It was a brand unafraid to gamble on radical designs, from the streamlined 1934 Airflow, born in Orville Wright's wind tunnel, to the jaw-dropping 1963 Turbine Car, a literal jet for the road. As the decades rolled on, Chrysler solidified its place alongside Lincoln and Cadillac, becoming the preferred ride for America's big shots and tastemakers. Then, in a remarkable pivot during the 1980s, it became the brand for every family, introducing the world to the minivan and changing the suburban landscape forever. The return of the mighty Hemi engine in the 2000s saw a resurgence of muscle, with the Chrysler 300 SRT, a refined brute that many collectors are only now beginning to appreciate. But soon, the spotlight shifted to the Hellcat-powered antics of its sibling brands Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, leaving the former flagship in a quieter, more uncertain position. This could have made for a somber centennial. Instead, Chrysler threw a magnificent birthday party at the Detroit Yacht Club on Belle, a fitting venue where Walter P. himself was once a member. The guests of honor? A dazzling collection of the most important concept and production cars from the company's storied past. The official party favor is a new anniversary edition Chrysler Pacifica. While it sadly lacks the wood-grain paneling, soaring fins, or plaid wool seats of its ancestors, it does offer a patriotic trio of colors, red hot, bright white, or hydro blue, and features special badges and new for 2026 grille and wheel designs. It's a handsome nod to the present, but the real magic of the day was getting to experience the past. Chrysler opened the doors to its heritage collection, allowing us to get behind the wheel, or at least ride shotgun, in the cars that built the legend. 1924. Chrysler 6 B70. Prototype. The Genesis. It's one thing to see a century-old car in a museum. It's another entirely to ride in one that Walter P. Chrysler himself once drove. We weren't allowed to drive this one. It is, after all, one of just 5 irreplaceable prototypes. But sitting in its spectacularly roomy back seat was a journey in itself. The 1924 Chrysler 6 was a revolution. Its high-compression straight-six engine produced a stout 68 horsepower, and it was one of the first affordable cars to feature four-wheel hydraulic brakes. Production versions of the B70 were immediate. Legends, winning hill climbs, conquering the 24 hours of Le Mans, and setting a 100-mile lap record at Brooklands. On the roads of Belle, we didn't hit triple digits, but the B70's brisk off-the-line acceleration and solid presence were a powerful reminder that Chrysler's performance DNA was there from the very beginning. 1934. Chrysler Airflow. A future too soon. By today's standards, the 1934 Airflow looks charmingly vintage. But in the 1930s, it looked like a spaceship. While competitors were still building upright, boxy cars, Chrysler's engineers, working with aviation pioneer Orville Wright, were exploring aerodynamics. The Airflow's rounded front, Integrated fenders and unibody construction were engineering marvels. Unfortunately, it was too radical for Depression-era buyers, and its complex production led to early quality issues. It was a commercial flop, but an artistic and engineering triumph whose influence can be seen in nearly every car on the road today. The post-war powerhouses, Town & Country, and the 300 letter cars. This was Chrysler's golden era. We sampled a fleet of icons that defined post-war American luxury and performance. The 1948 Chrysler Town & Country, with its genuine white ashwood framing, was the original luxury SUV, a status symbol for the country club set. The 1951 New Yorker and 1955 Chrysler 300 ushered in Virgil Exner's forward-look design language, defined by sweeping lines and dramatic fins. Riding in these cars is like floating on a cloud. The plush plaid-covered bench seats and tall white-wall tires absorb every imperfection, a stark contrast to the stiff, sporty rides of today. The interiors are works of art, with intricate chrome, details and bakelite knobs that make opening event feel like a momentous occasion. And with the 1955 model, Chrysler shoved a Hemi V8 under the hood, creating the 300-horsepower C300, the first letter car and arguably the first true American muscle car. 1963, Chrysler Turbine Car, the jet-powered dream. This wasn't a ride-along, it was a science experiment. The Chrysler Turbine Car is one of the wildest and most ambitious concepts ever to grace public roads. Powered by a gas turbine engine spinning at up to 60,000 RPM, it sounds less like a car and more like a jet preparing for takeoff. Only 55 were ever made, and just a handful remain in running condition. The most fascinating part of its history was the user program, where Chrysler loaned the cars to regular families for months at a time. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. People loved the smooth, vibration-free power and futuristic design. Ultimately, the project was too expensive and complex for mass production. Feeling the eerie whir and seeing the jet-like gauges in person was a profound experience, a tangible piece of the space race era's unbridled optimism. 1976. Chrysler Cordoba, the voice of Corinthian leather. Of all the priceless metal on display, it might be the '76 Cordoba that stole my heart. This was the pinnacle of the 1970s. Personal luxury coupe, a baller machine with an intimidating four-light front end, a grumbly 360 V8, and acres of style. This particular car belonged to actor Ricardo Montalban, whose impossibly smooth voice in the TV commercials made soft Corinthian leather a household phrase. The delicious irony? This car, like most Cordobas, didn't have leather from Corinth, but was trimmed in fabulous silver vinyl. It was pure marketing genius, and the car had the swagger to back it up. The Saviors, K-Car and minivan magic. No Chrysler story is complete without the cars that saved the company from financial ruin. The 1986 Chrysler LeBaron Town & Country wagon, a quintessential K-Car, gets a lot of grief, but riding in it felt like a trip to a country club circa 1986, complete with faux wood grain and plush velour. It was the right car for its time. Even more impactful was the 1996 Chrysler Town & Country minivan. The moment I slid open that heavy side door and heard the distinctive seatbelt chime, I was hit with a tidal wave of nostalgia, carpools, road trips, and a phantom anxiety about unfinished homework. My family never had one, but my friend's parents did. It was a flashback to scrambling into the third row and appreciating the genius of its design, including a perfect space between the front seats for a backpack. 2006. Chrysler 300. SRT-8, the banker's hot rod revisited. Driving the 2006 300 SRT-8 right after the vintage classics was a lesson in automotive evolution. The engineers were clearly channeling the spirit of the 55 letter car when they stuffed a 6.1-liter Hemi into the bold, gangster-chic 300 sedan. The ride is firm, the steering direct, a complete departure from the floaty comfort of its ancestors. The early 2000s were all about Teutonic-inspired handling, and the 300 delivered. It was a criminally overlooked luxury muscle machine then, and it stands today as a prime candidate for a future collectible. The Crossroads and the Unwritten Future. After a day spent immersed in a century of excellence, one question looms large. What's next? Today's Chrysler is at a crossroads, with its lineup reduced to variations of the Pacifica minivan. Glamorous SUVs are handled by Maserati and Jeep, while big, fast sedans are Dodge's territory. It doesn't leave much room, but as recent concepts like the futuristic Halcyon prove, Chrysler's designers are not just thinking about stow-and-go seating. There is still a desire to innovate, to be bold. Stellantis could return the brand to its roots of big, luxurious cruisers or revive the banker's hot rod persona of the 300. The spirit of the airflow and the turbine car is waiting to be unleashed again. After a century of high style, Hemi muscle, minivan magic, and even turbine-powered experiments, Chrysler finds itself at a pivotal crossroads. The past is powerful, a testament to a brand that has repeatedly defined and redefined the American automobile. But the future, that remains unwritten. From wood-grain wagons that defined suburbia to gangster sedans that owned the streets, Chrysler has always had a flair for the unexpected. As they enter their second century, we can only hope the next chapter brings back that audacity. Here's to more 5-digit redlines, more undercover performance, and maybe, just maybe, a little more fine Corinthian leather. What is your favorite Chrysler of all time? Until next time, stay curious and keep driving something worth remembering.